from forgotten scrolls to future hope. This is messages of old, when heaven touched earth. Long before the first raindrops struck the deck of Noah's Ark, the future of our planet was decided on a lonely mountaintop. Tonight, we journey back to that impossible moment, when heavenly guardians became fugitives, when knowledge turned poisonous, and when an ancient promise began to take shape. The guardians of the dawn. Imagine Earth in its infancy, untouched forests, rivers unpolluted by memory, sky as black as onyx and exploding with stars. Among those stars lived the Watchers, angels assigned to observe humanity's first steps. They were not cherubs sporting harps. They were brilliant sentinels whose very presence hummed with cosmic voltage. Standing above them all was Azazel. To the young human tribes he appeared terrifying and beautiful, a being woven of silver light. Tradition calls him Captain of Hundreds, for beneath his command marched 199 other spirits, scientists, scribes, and warriors of the high realm. Their original task: record the growth of Adam's descendants and report back to the Creator. But eons of silent watching bred desire. The walled garden called heaven promised perfection. Yet earth offered something no angelic court had ever tasted: choice. The pact on Mount Hermon. On a wind-ripped night, Azazel gathered his troop atop Mount Hermon, the white-capped giant straddling today's Syria, Lebanon border. Lightning stitched the clouds while the Watchers formed a ring. A constellation dragged to ground level. At Azazel's side waited Azazel, a metallurgist whose mind burned hotter than any forge. They proposed an unthinkable oath: descend openly, take human wives, and father a new breed. In dramatizations, we show each angel slicing his palm, letting golden ichor splash onto black basalt. The blood hissed like dry ice, sealing their fate with steam. 20 captains repeated the vow aloud: Armoros, Barakel, Kokabel, Serial, and more. Names that would become curses in later centuries. They were no longer watchers. They had chosen to become actors. First contact. Picture the terror and wonder of early humans when these radiant beings strode into village clearings. Some tribes fell to their knees. Others reached out like children touching fireflies. The angels spoke every dialect without learning them, offered gifts no hunter could refuse, and, most intoxicating of all, shared secrets. Azazel demonstrated how ore could be melted and poured into molds. Sparks danced like miniature suns, while villagers watched crude stone axes evolve overnight into bronze blades. Armoros whispered chants that bent herbs to medicinal will. Barakel mapped constellations with a fingertip against the night sky, predicting seasons better than any shaman. Yet knowledge has a double edge. With swords came warlords. With potions came poison. With astrology came fatalism. And with beauty came obsession. Angelic husbands adorned their new brides with cosmetic powders, teaching them antimony eyeliner that glimmered like comet tails. Vanity bloomed, envy followed. Birth of the Nephilim. From these unions sprang the Nephilim, literally the fallen ones, though their height made them seem risen. Ancient texts describe them at 3,000 ells. But let's translate: roughly 35 feet, taller than a modern telephone pole. Even if the numbers are legendary, the point is clear. These hybrids overshadowed ordinary people in both stature and appetite. At first, the Nephilim were celebrated as heroes, clearing forests in a single afternoon, hoisting stones that birthed megaliths, still haunting our planet. But toddlers become teenagers, and teenagers become tyrants. Their calorie needs surpassed entire villages. When livestock ran out, they hunted humans. When humans hid, they devoured each other. The ground itself seemed to recoil. Rivers ran red, soil soured under spilled blood. Mothers hid infants in pottery jars. Fathers dug caves that quickly became graves. Humanity's cry rose like volcanic ash, coating heaven's doorstep. Heaven's court convenes. High above, for archangels, Michael, Raphael, Gabriel, and Uriel, gathered before the crystal throne. Think of a courtroom where pillars are pillars of fire and scrolls unroll themselves in midair. Testimony thundered in every tongue ever spoken. Michael argued, These watchers were guardians. Now they are crime lords. The earth bleeds. Raphael added, Azazel's blades multiply murder. Sickness spreads with his powders. Gabriel observed, their children corrupt nature itself. Left unchecked, even the skies will drown in violence. Uriel concluded, if justice stalls, creation fractures. The verdict fell in 3 strokes. Azazel would be chained and buried under a wasteland named Dudiel, sealed until a final judgment. Gabriel would ignite civil war among the giants, urging them to destroy each other. Semjaza and his captains would be bound beneath the mountains for 70 generations, held in darkness until all history could testify against them. But mercy tempered wrath. The Most High commanded Uriel, find Noah, the one man whose lineage remains untainted. Warn him that waters will wash the stain away, and promise that life will not be entirely snuffed out. Calling of Noah. Noah was no wizard. He was a farmer, a husband, a dad who patched his kids' sandals at night. In our reenactment, he stands beside a simple old fire, stars reflecting in a nearby stream. Uriel appears not as a blinding seraph, but as a traveler cloaked in dawn's first color. Even so, Noah instinctively bows. Build an ark, the messenger says, unrolling a blueprint inked in light. He speaks in cubits, but captions translate for our inch-and-foot audience. 3 decks tall, 450 feet long, 75 feet wide. Noah's jaw slackens. This is lumberyard math on a cosmic scale. He hesitates only once. Why me? Uriel answers, because when the world forgot how to listen, you still prayed. Thunder rumbles, whether from distant storm clouds or flapping seraph wings, we don't know. And the vision fades. Mockers at the shipyard. Cut to montage. Noah and his sons hacking gopher wood, dragging beams with crude sledges, pitching seams with tar. Neighbors laugh, throwing splinters back at them. One scene shows village kids using the half-built hull as a skate ramp. Another shows merchants charging inflated prices for nails, confident that Noah's savings will drown with his dream. Yet each hammered peg sounds like a metronome counting down destiny. In voiceover we hear Noah's diary, a creative flourish, day 97. Doubt visits at dusk yet again, but each board whispers, keep going. Civil War of Giants. Meanwhile, Gabriel sows paranoia among Nephilim warlords. We stage a split-screen battlefield. Bone clubs versus bronze swords, titans grappling in mud, thunderclouds swirling as if skies themselves recoil. The death of each giant shakes the camera with an earthquake rumble. In one primal tableau, 2 brothers the height of redwoods fight over a dwindling cattle herd. Their blood forms a toxic marsh. Reeds wilt instantly. When the last behemoth collapses, round fissures open like hungry mouths, swallowing the carcasses. Silent snow of volcanic ash begins to fall. The binding of the Watchers. Michael leads an angelic task force into the subterranean caverns of Hermon. Visualize plasma chains coiling around luminescent rebels. Semjaza struggles, but every rebellion ends eventually in restraint. The chains tighten, runes ignite. A stone ceiling slams shut. The Watcher's era is over. The stage is set for a watery erasure and a rainbow promise. But that promise, and the storm that births it, belong to part 2. Narrator crescendo, then hush. The sky is heavy. The ark stands ready, and the first raindrop is only a heartbeat away. The waters rise, the covenant shines. The first drop. We open on Noah's cracked knuckles, palm upturned. A single water bead lands, slow motion, bursting like liquid crystal. The soundtrack mutes, letting the splash echo as though time itself gasps. Noah whispers, it begins. Door of destiny. Inside the ark, torches flicker. The last animal pair, a pair of tardy mountain goats, spring through the door the moment Michael's voice reverberates. Seal it, son of Lamech. Noah's sons shove the timber door. Ropes tighten. Massive wooden pins slam into place. Dust swirls through torchlight. Outside, his neighbors stare. not laughing now but pounding on hull planks, demanding entry as wind howls like a banshee choir. For modern viewers, we treat this scene with restraint. We hear muffled shouts, but music swells above them, focusing on the family's prayer circle inside. 8 silhouettes huddled beneath a hanging oil lamp, chanting an ancient psalm of protection. 40 days of fury. Rain transitions from pearl drops to iron pellets. Up-angle shots show clouds unzipping. Cataracts roaring like Niagara but worldwide. CGI fissures open ocean abysses. Steam pillars rise where subterranean springs explode skyward. Montage timeline. Day 7. Ark lifts, rubbing sides against uprooted cypresses like a drifting barn. Day 15. A colossal cedar uproots, collides with the bow, but the pitch holds. Day 29. Volcanic lightning spiders across the horizon. Ash turns daylight a sickly maroon. Day 40. Camera pans across a vast plain of churning water. No peak in sight. Through voiceover we hear passages adapted from Genesis and Jubilees. All flesh that moved upon the earth perished, fowl, cattle, beasts, and all mankind. We linger on the ark's window. Rain slides diagonally like prison bars. 150 days adrift. The storm ends not with sunshine, but with eerie stillness. Fog blankets a boundless ocean. The ark creaks. Gulls are extinct. There is no compass but faith. Noah's logbook becomes a second protagonist. Entry highlights. Day 47 after the rain ceased. Food stores steady. Spirits low. Day 74. Sent raven. It wheeled above the mast, shrieked, returned emptied alone. Day 101. Dove released, came back, feet muddy. Day 108. Released dove again. Evening she returned with green olive leaf. Tears flooded harder than the storm. This olive leaf is our cinematic pivot. We color grade the scene from desaturated gray to tentative warmth. Strings swell yet hold minor chords. Hope, but fragile. Touching Ararat. 5 months after the rain's finale, the ark scrapes something solid. A ridgeline on Mount Ararat. The jolt jars sleeping animals. Goats bleat. A clay pot shatters. Outside, clouds pull back like theater curtains, revealing jagged snowcaps and waterfalls birthed from melting glaciers. Noah kneels to kiss the wooden deck. The first surface his lips touch is still the ark, but the symbolism lands. He waits for God's guidance. The day comes when the door is unbarred, light floods in, and the survivors stumble onto pebble-strewn slopes. A world washed clean. The camera floats over a re-terraformed planet, river deltas newly carved, seedbeds of wildflowers sprouting across silt plains, animals releasing into newborn biomes. Yet charred ruins of pre-flood cities jut here and there, moss reclaiming shattered ziggurats. The film makes a subtle statement: judgment destroyed, but consequences linger. Altar of remembrance. Noah assembles stones, sets timber, and lights a sacrifice. Smoke spirals into sapphire sky. Here we introduce the covenant of the rainbow. We depict a super slow motion raindrop evaporating in fire, rising as vapor, condensing into mist that refracts sunlight, birthing a 180-degree arc colors, saturate beyond natural range. A promise as vivid as neon. Voice of the Most High reverberates, equal parts thunder and whisper. Never again will I curse the ground because of humans, nor will I destroy all living creatures as I have done. While earth remains, seed time and harvest, cold and heat, summer and winter, day and night, shall not cease. The new mandate. God blesses the family. Be fruitful and multiply. But there's a new clause, sanctioned to eat meat, respect for blood, and a heavenly warning against murder. For the video, we animate parchment bullet points, linking ancient edict to modern law, dignity of life, justice systems, even environmental stewardship. Echoes in modern DNA. Now the narrative pivots to engage our 18 to 50 American audience. We show quick cuts of skyscrapers, gene editing labs, ballistic missiles, and social media feeds. A narrator asks, have we once again unlocked knowledge too heavy for our moral spine to carry? We layer side-by-side images. Angels forging swords, scientists assembling CRISPR-Cas9, Nephilim towering over shepherds, megacities overshadowing rural towns, pre-flood chaos, footage of wildfires and melting ice shelves. Yet threads of hope anchor the montage. Humanitarian volunteers, solar panel arrays, families praying around dinner tables. The covenant rainbow pulses over each scene, unsilenced. Fate of the watchers. Between shots, we flash back underground. Chains still glowing over some Azazel silhouette. A rumble hints they are not yet released, but still influenced through whispers. Ancient wrong ideas dressed in new tech. The narrator clarifies, whatever your theology, the metaphor is clear. Some ideas should remain buried. The takeaway. Narrator, steady, invitational. You've walked the scorched fields where giants fed, sailed the waves that scrubbed the planet, and stood under the very first rainbow. What do we carry home? Responsibility of knowledge. Every breakthrough, from metallurgy to microchips, tests our character. Warning of hubris. Power divorced from humility courts collapse. Promise of mercy. Even after cosmic catastrophe. Grace rises like sunlight after storm clouds. We encourage viewers. Share in the comments. What modern giants do you see looming? AI, genetic manipulation, something else? Like and subscribe so you won't miss our deep dive into Enoch's ascent through 7 heavens next week. Cue swelling score, blend of choir and electric guitar, over a final aerial shot. A contemporary rainbow arching above suburban rooftops, hinting that ancient vows still stretch across today's skies.